Hello there, I'm Laura, and while I am not succeeding at my Christmas goals as quickly as I was hoping, I thought it might be a good idea take a break and share with you guys the 1890s suit that I made for my son Blake, and then I can share some of the footage from when he and his brother Spencer played at the Stuhr Museum, and maybe get some of those historical Christmas vibes going. I do have some notes, so please forgive me if I'm looking down, but I will look back up, I promise. So I made the entire suit. I purchased all of the patterns for the jacket, the vest, the pants, and the shirt, all from Snail Pattern Company. It's a Germany-based pattern company, but the directions come in both English and in German. I bought a PDF, so it was and it was on sale. Each pattern was on sale, so it was about $6 a pattern. I had them sent to a copier or a printer. When I first did it, I was a total newbie to the PDF file thing, so it was kind of a challenge. I was like, oh, because you don't have to just print them off on your printer and then tape them all together. You can send them to a online printer, and they have certain files. They're called AO files. You can send them to local printers, but it's not as inexpensive as it is if you use a online one. The patterns themselves, I feel like they were good patterns. At the very beginning, there was a short historical background for like the style and the sewing techniques, which I found really interesting. It had decent pictures. Very often if I had problems, which I did have problems with some of the written instructions, I don't know if that's because of my inexperience with sewing, my inexperience of knowing tailoring techniques, or if it was just me because I have trouble sometimes following directions. I don't feel like my opinion of the written directions is really valid because somebody else might be perfectly fine with them, and quite honestly, I don't think I had any more trouble with these directions than I have with any other. I've had some McCalls patterns that I'm just like, I don't know what they want me to do. So I encourage you, if you're interested, it sewed up nicely. It's one of the few places that you can find men's patterns, so I encourage you to try them out. The other thing about the patterns is that they're geared with the historical sewing techniques in mind. Obviously you could use a machine. Some things though you just had to hand sew. This suit though, most of it is sewn on the machine, and then like putting the lining in was by hand, and I think that's pretty much all I did by hand. I did the vest first, just because my first adventure into men's historical sewing was making two vests. I'll put a picture somewhere in here, for my sons that they've been wearing for different performances, and I figured I'd start with the vest. It should be easy, and so that's pretty much what happened. It was not hard at all. The turning inside and out, and especially with this this little strip, gave me some trouble. It turned out good. I mean, there's errors. I can still see the errors, and it's coming apart here. So, I don't know. But for a first try, it was really great. And, I have to say the welt pockets, I like the historical method of doing the welt pockets. I've done them with the modern methods too, and this method was just so much easier. I cannot right now tell you what was the difference, but they went in really nicely and they pressed really, really good. So that's it. I think that's it. You can see it's lined, and I learned how to do hand stitching pretty good. This turned out nicely, the lining on the inside. I had some troubles with the lining on the jacket, and we'll get to that in a minute, because that is what I did next. I figured I needed to get, I could do the top part first, and then I would do the bottom part. Here is the suit. The suit, it really did actually go together pretty nicely. I did not do the, partially because of time constraints and because this sleeve was huge. I just sewed the sleeve shut, like the buttons are just sewn on, and it faked out, and once again, it's okay. We were ready to be done with it. I mean, I needed to be done with it. I like the shoulders, the way the shoulders go over and the seam is kind of in the back. It makes a really nice V kind of shape. Let's see, anything else? All the pockets are, these are hidden welt pockets. Whoops, what's that? Oh, that is a pin, and the reason why that is a pin is because that's where I think I messed up on sewing in the lining, because everything hung really nicely until I sewed the bottom of the lining in, and then it looks better now, but it started hanging really weird. And this pocket, which one? This pocket started gaping and it looked terrible. So we just safety pinned it together. I don't know about, yep, both of the pockets. So something to be said, the fabric is the Platitudes fabric from Joann's. I'm imagining it's possible that if you used like a suiting fabric, a flannel or a wool suiting, all of this might lay better anyway. The Platitudes doesn't have a whole lot of, I mean, it's heavier than most cotton, but it's not, you know, it's not the same as like a wool suiting or a flannel suiting. So there's always that possibility that was why I had the troubles I did. The other reason I probably had the troubles I did was because, you know, it calls for horsehair and then pad stitch the horsehair. I was really excited to get to do that. I was like ready and willing, and I could not find any horsehair that was not super expensive, and you had to order a ton of it. Like, I mean, like a ton. There's no way I would ever use that much horsehair, probably ever. So I found it's an iron-in horsehair, and I thought, well, if I use an iron-in horsehair, and it was pretty thin, then it will probably, maybe, and just not pad stitch, it'll be okay. It wasn't okay. So, and I'll put some pictures in as I go along. You might have seen them already if you're still watching this video, but the collar doesn't turn quite right. It's better now because it's been, you know, I mean, like smashed for a while. But down here, it's not as pointy as it should be. Things like that. So if you do want to ever do a men's historical jacket or otherwise, I recommend, if you can find the horsehair, get the horsehair. Probably in bigger cities, you might be able to find that stuff. But my town is 25,000 people. Even Lincoln and Omaha, I couldn't find any. So yeah, there was that. But otherwise, and by the time I started it and by the time I finished it, I think he grew, because it just doesn't quite fit anymore. But I love the seams, like how the seams come down. It's just a really pretty jacket. So that was that. Then I did the pants. I did the pants next, and that was fun. I mean, it was fun. I did not finish any of these seams, by the way. I mean, like, these were lined, of course, so you don't see them. Excuse me. But these I just left because I was, you know, sewing them up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that is one thing I would do differently next time I do a project like this. I also would give myself more time. These are really neat though. It's got the button suspenders, and it's a button fly. The button fly was the only thing that really gave me a lot of problems. And I looked online. I tried to find anybody. The only thing that made me feel a little bit better was that I did find somebody who had made the cycling breeches, and they had the same problems with the button fly. Didn't help me because they didn't really show me like how they fixed the button fly. So I put it in backwards, then I had to put it on the other side, and this part down here at the base of the button fly, that gets kind of, I mean, it wasn't really laying properly, and it was just kind of all a nightmare, but it turned out okay. I love the curtain. I felt very proficient when I was putting in a curtain for my pants, or his pants. And then the last part was his shirt, and by this time I knew I was not going to be able to make it in time for the photos. So we watched Vintage Burge, I think that's how you say it, and then also I will put it in the description, and that gentleman is who I actually used the tutorial for, how to take a modern Walmart shirt, white shirt, and turn it into a historical type shirt that has the stand-up collar and the, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot it, collar studs, okay. So and then all you do is you cut it off right above, you know, right above the there's the collar, this little stand part, and then the actual collar. You just cut the collar off, then you fold it under and you stitch it down, and then you need to make sure to make the buttonholes on the back of the shirt for the collar studs, and you leave a little opening. It's hard to get it in there. Anyway, there's a little opening there, and then you put 2 buttonholes on the ends for the collar studs, because you just overlap them and then you put the collar stud through. I'll put a picture up here too. I don't know where my son put his stand-up, his detachable collar, so I'm going to, I'll put a picture in of what that looks like. I made that one. I did make that one, and that was fun. It all was fun. Different degrees of, you know, how it turned out. So altogether, this is what the suit looks like on, and I'll put a couple of different pictures. And it was definitely a learning curve. I probably should have waited, but I'm glad I didn't, because doing that and having it turn out as well as it did, I mean, it's not perfect, and I definitely need to do it again and try it again and all of that. But that, you know, once I did that, I was like, I can do anything. I mean, you just have to, like I said, work your way through it and problem solve and see what happens. And if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, that's okay. You know, you can always try again, or reuse the fabric for something else, or stick it in the closet until you forget about it. I don't know. The boys played at the Stuhr Museum. It's a living history museum. They have like working buildings, working like a working woodworking place. And at Christmas time, you can build little toy train parts, like an engine and a caboose and whatever. And they do, they have a tin shop, and you can make icicles. I meant to bring one down and show you, because every year we try to get a few, excuse me, for our Christmas trees. So you make little tin icicles, and I can put a picture in. They have a mercantile tile, which you'll see in the video. They have where they sell historical toys and books, reproductions, of course, jewelry, just mercantile type of things, candy. They have a granary. They have a veterinarian's office. The church is really kind of cool. They played at Bell Cottage, which is Henry Fonda's birthplace, and they moved the house out to the Stuhr Museum within the last 7 years. The footage you see where they're playing, that's where Henry Fonda was born and grew up for a couple of years before they moved on to, I believe, Lincoln, or it might have been Omaha. I hope you enjoy the footage and the music, and I wish you and yours the most happiest of Christmases. And if you don't happen to celebrate Christmas, then I wish you a joyous holiday season. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.